And we're back recording. This is now section 2. I'm going to talk about the psychology of talking to a psychologist. The reason I do this to a camera is because a camera is non judgmental in any way, shape, or form. It is an inanimate object, it has no judgments, and it allows me. Hey, Snoop Monkey, welcome. Uh, if you want to join in, I need your channel URL. But anyway, Snoop, come on in. Uh, you can message anytime you want. I'm talking about basically the reason I do this is a form of therapy for myself. Okay, porkaganda, very funny. I actually like that. He's using that as a euphemism, uh, I suppose, for the meat industry. I'm not really sure, but I use this as a medium to discuss, and I don't want to talk to a person, a live person, because you can see their reactions. Now, psychologists and psychiatrists are trained not to react, but body language does not lie, and you can tell when someone has reached a judgment on you simply by their body language shift. Okay, and so I don't need to worry about that. Plus, I also use them to scream at. Basically, they are my punching bag. And that is not entirely a nice thing on my part. So I don't want to deal with a real life human person. I do this, I get my yah-yahs out, as it were, and I can move on with my life. Now, I was talking about the economy with that it is. It's completely arbitrary. Okay? There are only three core values to human life. Three core values that never change. They are air, water, and food. Without any one of these three things, you will perish. Okay? It might take longer for one than the other, but all three are absolutely necessary for human existence, for a individual human existence. Now, in order for a species to propagate, you need to add two more to that. They are shelter from the elements and reproduction. That's for a species to survive. So you need food, water, air, shelter, and procreation. That's it. Those five things will ensure the propagation of your species, but everything else is an arbitrary value that we have assigned it. The example of the diamond versus sand. A diamond is no more valuable than sand in the ground. It's only because we dig it up and it takes a lot of work to dig up one of these pieces of carbon, that we charge money for it and we say it's valuable. But its value is actually based on its appearance. It's pretty. And we're also to the point where we can, and it has certain industrial uses. Okay, it's the sharpest thing. It can cut through anything supposedly, even diorite, which is the second heaviest, hardest material on planet Earth. Um, so it has some industrial value. However, we have come to the point where we can now synthetically grow diamonds, right? So they have no intrinsic value because we can make them synthetically. We make diamonds. So there's more diamonds in the world so that they're worth less. But apparently that is not so. Because they talk about brilliance and cut and blah, 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 blah. Everything is there to show off the shiny, pretty diamond. But it is worthless unless we say it's worth something. That's the way it is for everything. Okay? We place arbitrary values on things. The only time that supply and demand actually comes into force or focus is in a straight barter system. That's when you can say things like, people are demanding this. I am the only one who supplies it. Therefore, I set the price of it. Okay? Now, that was called monopoly, and in the old days, uh, it was not a good thing because what they would do is they would monopolize something and then charge these usurious prices on this for perceived value. Okay, so they would then take these little pieces of paper that we decided were worth $1, and they would say that their service or material was worth 100 of these. Now, because we had no competition and we wanted that thing, that $100 was the price. And then they broke up monopolies and they said, okay, you can't have a monopoly, because what was going on is people that were coming up to challenge these monopolies were getting crushed, just absolutely crushed under the size of the monopoly. Since they originally had the monopoly, they had the size, they had the thing, and they would just crush these new people. Okay, and so we got rid of monopolies, which, looking back on it, may not have been the best course of action. What we should have done is we should have had oversight. Now, I know a lot of you are going, oh man, you mean you wanted to increase the government? Yes. Yes, I did. And I will tell you why. Because had we oversight, we could have set fair market value, okay? Which, like every other arbitrary value, would have been set by consensus. Getting enough people to agree to what that is actually worth makes it worth that. That's all I'm saying. Okay, there should be, and I mean, they call it government price fixing. It's not really government price fixing if the populace is involved. Then it's price fixing. Okay, and we no longer manufacture things, so I say we go back to manufacturing things, and that way we temper this consumerism. Because now we have more goods to trade, which strengthens the dollar against foreign currency, which for some odd reason seems to be important to people. For me, it's more about the consensus. If we get enough people to say, hey, fuck you, it's worth what we say it is, take it or leave it, one, they might leave it. In which case, okay, let's manufacture our own shit here again. We can close the system, call it a closed loop system, and have it exist only in the United States. The rest of the world is pricing us out of the world market anyway. We don't manufacture anything, so we have to pay the prices they want, which, again, devalues the dollar. It's all about perception. As long as we have the 5 necessary items for species civilization, okay, everything else is up for negotiation. Everything else. The 5 things, once again, the 5 things are air, water, food, shelter, and procreation. Everything else is negotiable. That's it. Now, another thing that I was talking about, and Greg, by the way, was the only one to comment on this aspect of my last rant, which was called "It's the Economy, Stupid." Okay? And Paul Williamson was the only one to comment on the second part of the rant, globalization, where I really kind of stick it to these political dilettante motherfuckers in college. These snot-nosed, overprivileged fucking college kids that probably aren't paying for their own way in college and think that by divesting from Israel, they're somehow going to be doing right in the world. Now, let me tell you something. These people are wrong. As far as allies in the Middle East goes, we're running thin. You want to divest from Israel because you think it's going to gain us more allies? Then you're a fucking rube. Then you know nothing about nothing. I'm going to cover half of that in the next part, part 3 of this, which is you guys are morons.